Since its launch in November 2015, Fresh is the Word has been a documentation of sorts for me, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, as I journey through my love of music and pop culture, as well as using this platform to share my growth on topics important to me, which includes topics involving women's rights, people of color, and the LGBT community through the artistic lens of pop culture. As an ever-evolving podcast, I'm going back to my roots, focusing more on the music artists I'm passionate about from the past and present. From the classic hip-hop artists I grew up on, to the new faces of dance. And from the metal bands I've long appreciated, to the indie alternative artists stealing my heart. Fresh is the Word aims to tell the stories of those who need their contributions to music known, while also exposing my audience to the next artist to watch out for. Sometimes before they blow up.
Fresh is the word.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Fresh is the Word podcast. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier. And like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. And who do we have on the show this episode? The guest for this episode is Kyle Taylor Parker, who plays the role of Happy Man in the national tour of Pretty Woman, the musical. During our chat, we talked about how he got his role in Pretty Woman, also being on the Broadway company of Kinky Boots, how the Pretty Woman musical is the same and how it also differs from the movie, and his latest album, Broadway Soul, Volume 2, plus much more. Pretty Woman, the musical, will be hitting the Fisher Theater here in Detroit for a limited run from November 2nd to the 14th. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit BroadwayInDetroit.com. So, without further ado, let's get into my chat with Kyle Taylor Parker. And now a brief word from our sponsor. Founded in 2015, 20 by 20 Apparel seeks to bring original tributes to pro wrestling's classic arenas, moments, and events. They look to spotlight the biggest, smallest, strangest, and strongest. They also provide an array of services. In the world of wrestling, where there are hundreds of shirts, promotions, flyers, social media accounts, and ads, don't get lost in the sea of parody shirts and display fonts. They can provide professional graphic design services at a reasonable price. 20 by 20 also hand screen prints all of their tees in-house. If you would like to discuss a possible run of tees, posters, koozies, foam fingers, even Zubaz, then drop them a line. Go to 20by20apparel.com. That's the number 20, the letter X, the number 20, apparel.com. All right, welcome back to the Fresh is the Word podcast. And who do we have on the show this episode? We have Kyle Taylor Parker, who plays the role of Happy Man in the national tour of Pretty Woman, the musical. And he also has a album out right now, Broadway Soul Volume 2. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no doubt. So, how does it feel to, be back on the road, be back on the stage?
Oh, there's nothing like it. I'm so grateful, and the audiences are having so much fun. It's just been great.
Perfect, man. How did you get this role as Mr. Happy? How'd you even just link up with, the Pretty Woman musical?
I actually had worked with the director, Jerry Mitchell, before. He gave me my first break when I did Kinky Boots on Broadway and the Kinky Boots National Tour. So when this all kind of was being put into the works, he called me in. I did a few of the scenes for him, and he brought me on board.
Sweet, man. What's been your experience like with what is it about working with that director that's been good, that you like?
Yeah, Jerry Mitchell's incredible. I think his brain is just a magical place. The fact that he was able to take this cinematic thing and make it work on stage is a testament to his creativity. So being with him is always the best.
Yeah. About that, how do you take like a movie like that and transform it onto the stage? What's sort of like the parts that you feel like they did the best with?
Well, the things that people love about the movie are in the show. Like we really honor the movie. It's not so different. So the red dress is there. You're going to hear Pretty Woman. A lot of those iconic lines are in the movie. And then you have to find a way to still make it theatrical. So there's element of surprise. There are things that do not happen in the movie that happen in this. There are characters that aren't in the movie. For instance, the Happy Man, that happen on stage theatrically. And I kind of become Vivian Ward's fairy godfather. So I can become many different characters to help her achieve her highest level of self.
Yeah, what is it about your role as a Happy Man that sort of, adds to the story?
I'm like the hype man for the show. I'm the MC. So I speak directly to the audience about everything that's going on, checking in, making sure everyone's having a good time, and watching these two fall in love.
Nice. What, is there anything about this role as Happy Man that sort of like relates to yourself?
Yeah, I would say that I'm that friend who's always rooting for all of my friends to succeed. Like if you win, we win, that kind of a thing.
Right.
Also in the idea of Happy Man and becoming all these different characters. That's a big part of the story of the show, right? If like don't judge a book by its cover, anyone can be anything if given a chance. That really resonates with me.
Right, nice. How did you first get into, wanting to be a performer? How young were you when you were like first starting to get that little itch to do it?
Yeah, I was around like 6 or 7. My mom took me to a theater camp, and I was a really shy kid. But when I got to this theater camp, I just came to life. And so it's always been this space that I can just express myself, and that's why I do it.
What is it about like theater that just really resonates with you?
I guess it's like taking a walk in another person's shoes, right? Like empathy and like you can fully be yourself because you have a mask on. No one knows it's you.
Right. Growing up, how did that sort of help you with, just dealing with, the growing pains of, getting older, going through childhood to adolescence to adulthood?
It helped immensely. Like I said, I was a really shy kid. So, if I was in other classes, I really wouldn't speak that much. And I would come out of my shell when given lines. It really helped me be a person.
What was sort of like the first like role you got or just job or whatever that was like that first sort of okay, maybe I can continue to do this for a while, that little like holy shit moment where you're like this may not be just a hobby for me.
Yeah, when I was cast in the Broadway company of Kinky Boots, the original Broadway company of Kinky Boots, I think that was when I realized like, oh, I'm a professional actor. This is what I do.
How's that experience on Kinky Boots? As a, it's a very popular, musical, and I'm sure like just being on the Broadway version of that was incredible.
Yeah, it was a wild ride. It was really incredible. A lot of my dreams came true in working on that show. I started off in the ensemble, and then eventually I took over the leading part of the show. I took out the first national tour and then came back on Broadway and played the leading part. I was a kid. I was 23 when I did that show, so I really grew up. I did it for like 3 years or so. I grew up doing it, which was really, really lovely.
Yeah, what did you learn on that tour? Being, saying that you grew up, that's like a formative time, between, being a teenager and then the early adulthood. What were some of the things you learned during that time?
Really how to run your own race and set goals for yourself career-wise and just go for them and not to sweat the small stuff.
Right. How did you get that role, in Kinky Boots? Like just, first, being on the ensemble. Like, how did that come about?
So when I did the show on Broadway, I understudied the part. And so Billy Porter was the original Lola in Kinky Boots on Broadway, and I was his understudy. He hardly ever missed, and then there was one night where he had to miss the show. And I got to go on that night. And when I went on, the creative team, Cyndi Lauper, Harvey Fierstein, Jerry Mitchell, everyone was there. And that's when they realized, oh, there's something here. And the rest is history.
Man, Billy Porter is just this like huge sort of person, like just like but at the same time he's very like caring, and that you see that with him. I mean, how is it like being around him?
Exactly what you just said. Incredible.
Getting back to Pretty Woman, you know, that was one like the favorites of like romantic movies, back in the day. What is it about it that sort of resonates with the people of today?
I think joy, hope, and love. Those are the main things. I mean, people love love, right? And hope. If it can happen for the characters in our story, it can happen for anyone.
What are some of your favorite parts of the musical?
The opera. The opera scene is so gorgeous.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. You have you have an album out, Broadway Soul. Talk about that.
Yeah. So, this my latest album, Broadway Soul Volume Two, I released during the pandemic. Actually, I recorded it in my closet in Harlem. I take Broadway songs and I turn them into soul songs. Normally, my first album was made in a studio, but because of the pandemic, we couldn't. So artists all over the country recorded in their home studios. And it features Shoshana Bean, Blaine Alden Krause, Jackie Cox, Natalie Joy Johnson. But it was all made through remote collaboration.
Nice.
Yeah.
How's it like to just like, put a spin on these songs?
That it's really, that's the way I hear music. I've never been great at just singing a song the way it's written. I sing it the way I feel it. And this album is an extension of that.
Yeah, talk more about that. How important is it for, people just to sort of experience music and sort of be able to experience it in their own ways?
Music is expression, right? And so everyone hears it and feels it differently. And as artists, our job is to tell the truth as we know it through song. And so if I'm singing the way I imagine, some other singer to sing it, that's not my truth. And my goal is to ultimately tell the truth of my soul.
Yeah, definitely. Growing up, who are some of your favorite music artists? Who did you really connect with?
Aretha Franklin, Sarah Vaughan, Stevie Wonder, and Lettucey.
Oh, nice, nice. Is there anybody now, these days that you're a big fan of that maybe people don't know about?
Um, yes. Yeba is an incredible R&B slash pop artist who's really, really great.
Cool. What's so you're on this national tour with Pretty Woman. Um, what's the future got in store for you? You got two volumes of Broadway Soul out. What's your plans for the future?
Yeah, I've got another album in the back of my brain that I'll be working on probably in 2023 when I'm off of this tour. I would like to tell more stories. I want to do film and TV. I would love to do a play. That's the future for me.
Cool, 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 man. It's been, before we get out of here, what do you feel like the overall theme of like Pretty Woman is? Like, what do you hope, people get out of like seeing this in a musical form?
I hope that people get a great sense of joy and hope. Theater, theater is back. We are back, and we are our best when we take care of each other, and we come together to experience.
Cool, cool, cool. It's been great talking with you. Before we get out of here, is there anything that you want to plug? Where can people go online to see what you're up to and see more information about Pretty Woman?
Yeah, You can follow me on all social media at KTPWay, KTPWAY, and there'll be information about Pretty Woman as well on Instagram at Pretty Woman the musical.
Thank you for listening to the Fresh is the Word podcast, hosted and produced by myself, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, empowered by Anchor at anchor.fm/Fresh is the Word. Fresh is the Word theme music provided by Steve O. You can find more of his productions at iamsteveo.bandcamp.com, and that's EYEAMSTEVEO.bandcamp.com. Fresh is the Word is available on all major streaming platforms. Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. If you want to support Fresh is the Word, please consider pledging via Patreon at patreon.com/freshistheword. Follow Fresh is the Word on social media on Twitter at FreshIsThePod, on Instagram at Fresh is the Word Podcast, and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/FreshIsTheWord. For more information about Fresh is the Word and our other podcasts, Breaking Records and Renaissance Soul, and a collection of pop culture articles and reviews, please visit freshisthepodcast.com. Thank you for listening and your support. Goodbye and good night.
Fresh is the word.